Hi, this is Suzanne in Ohio. Well, I'm sitting down this afternoon to do the next element um, for this journal cover that I have in my mind. So for any of you that watched me, you'll know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, here's a quick catch up. I painted these the other day on a video, quick watercolor style, and my intention is to turn these into fabric appliques and then to use them on the front of a journal. And I said with a bird or a chickadee or something. And I've decided on a chickadee. So I have a long piece of canvas ready here. I put my bird where I want it, and I use the Pilot Frixion pens. And in case you don't know, that pen will completely erase if I run the iron over it. Heat makes that ink disappear. Here's my little study that I'm going to go by, and this is going to not be a labor intensive bird at all, just a facsimile, because these these leaves are kind of, they're not detailed. So I don't want a real detailed bird. I want the two styles of art to match. So I'm going to go by this, and we're going to just approach it by the seat of our pants, I guess, as you can say. And I'm going to attempt to use that watercolor type style that we talked about the other day. But before I do that, here's my paint. I only have the three colors that I need squirted out here for right now. So I want to mix up a very thin black, and it's going to go on as a watercolors first layer in a watercolor style. Now, I am no painter. The disclaimer is I only know 1/10 of what I should know for things like this. But with attempting the watercolor type of method, it's been successful for me because I tend to overpaint everything. Um, and what's the point? What's the point in spending that much time for something that's a piece of decorative art? But as we did the other day, I'm going to wet this fabric, um, and you can only use this method, I believe, on something as thick as this canvas that I've been working on, because other fabrics tend to pull the water out through the grain, and then your paint bleeds all over the place. But luckily with this canvas, it holds water right where I put it. And then now I wet that area, and I'm going to just drop in this watered down black. And it's not as watered down as I wish it was, so I'll add some water to it. And the water and the paint are mixing for me right there on the fabric. Now I'm looking at my sample here, and as I get down here in the shoulder part of the bird, right through there, I'm going to mix in a little bit of this buffy gold color. That's just about right. Happy with that. Trying to keep it loose and not too detailed. And that shoulder portion comes all the way down there. So I'm going to put some more water in my fabric because I didn't come down that far with the water. And my brush was already dirty, so voila, that worked out great. Okay, now my next big section, the top part of this wing basically is white underneath. I'm going to mix Let me get my rag over here where I need it. Going to thin down some white, real creamy. Leave a little paint in my brush. Come back here and pick up some water. And let's wet that portion of the fabric. And it's got white paint in it, so really that's enough. And a little bit of that's bleeding up into the gold. Perfect, because these feathers all blend together on the actual bird. This section of the wing really has a thin black background to it. Now I could work in a completely different area and let these dry as you would in watercolor so they won't bleed together. But frankly, for this project, I don't care. I want a watercolory look. I don't need it to be perfect. I'm going to be free motion stitching over top of this bird. And that will define everything. So the background for these white-edged feathers is pretty dark. So, not that mine has to be true to the photograph. It's the artist's liberty to do it any way you want. I'll just smear a little bit of that on there and see what it wants to do with itself. Now this little bib area right under the neck, again I'm going to go in and put a base down, water, and in this case dirty water, which is fine, and just drop that paint on there. Great. Okay, what can I do now? I could put an underlayer of white on the beak and the cheek area. So we'll just do that. Try not to let those wet areas touch each other, but if they do, I don't care. So I'm going to put this water on here. And go back to my watered down white. And because my brush is a teeny bit dirty and the water's a teeny bit dirty, it won't be snow white, and it's not supposed to be. Even white has shadows in it. Okay, now that we've got that on our brush, we can go ahead and do the breast area, which is basically white. Oh, I got my finger in the puddle of black and I've carried it down in here, and I don't care. I'll put some water on it so that it will thin itself out, but when I paint over it, it's okay. It'll probably just show up as shadows. So let's add some water to this breast area. Get some white on there. And this next area that I have defined right there with just some dash marks, I'm going to wet it too, but before I put the paint in that area, I'm going to add a little bit of that buffy color to it because it transitions from white into buff. And I don't need much of it. Now, I don't care if these two areas touch each other because that will help it blend. And let's put a little bit more buff in it. over here on this side. Perfect. Blending out just perfect with the water. And the fabric is pulling it all together. And a little bit more buff, darker, not dark at all, but darker over here, right up close to where the wing pattern starts. And just implying some shadow there. And let's take a look at it. So let's see. This area right in here could be a little bit grayer. I've got a good underlayment there, but it could be just a little grayer. And now that I'm doing that, I'm going to attempt that. I'm just going to put it in as tiny little streaks. It might not stay as streaks because the water in there might just do away with that. Okay, good. So now I'm looking at my contrast. I need to go back here and here and add more black. Oh, we should do an underlayment here. And I'm going to do that in two parts because half of that tail is prominent black, half of it's prominent white. Put the water all over and then we'll let it blend. Drop some black along here and let it gravitate. And you know, this whole time I could have had you down lower. Oh, shame on me. I should make myself a checklist. What to remember before I turn the camera on. So I'm going to drop some white in part of this tail and just let it go wherever the paint wants it to go. Now I do want you to be able to see my sample. What can I do here? I'll have to take the paint out of the way. And this way you can at least see, say which way to go, Suzanne. At least this way you can see what I'm working toward. Point out what I'm looking at as I paint. It really is so easy. Don't think of it as too hard. I did that for years and lost a lot of time. Now I'm going right over this cap here. Try not to put my finger in the wet paint. Dropping in some more paint, and it's still wet enough it's pulling it right in. Oh, I just love that. It's just a miracle. It helps you out. It does half the work for you. And for people like me who can't really paint. And then let's do under the bib here. This area, drop some more dark in. And if it begins to gravitate into that white cheek or the white breast, it's okay. It is just fine. Okay, I can darken up this area. Get some more watered down paint. I'm mixing over here, sorry. And I'm really gravitating into this white. And if there's something about it I don't like when I'm done, I'll just go over it with a little, after it's dry, with a little solid white. This area down behind the cheek comes down a little darker right here. So I'm going to drop some in there. And we'll see how it gravitates, starts to distribute itself over on that shoulder area. Okay, on the wing, this the feather platelets, I guess I heard someone say that one time. Okay, I don't want to get too dark there. Now, you've noticed I haven't put any feet on him. That's because I'm not going to attempt that. It's okay, it's easy enough to do, but I'm going to set him in a cluster of those holly leaves and berries. And so if he were really perched on the branch, you wouldn't see his feet anyway. All right, now what I'm thinking is I don't need to do any more painting until this dries. If I had a blow dryer here, it would still take too long to dry it. I could dry it with the iron, but I don't want to do that. I want the paint to do its traveling all by itself. So I'm going to stop here and I'll pick this up again and put the final touches on it when it's dry. I'll be back with another video. Okay, for a beautiful afternoon here in Northeast Ohio. Boy, we are just so blessed. Our fall is going to be late again this year. As a matter of fact, we're on track for one of the warmest falls on record. There are just a few tips of leaves starting to turn, not nearly even 5%, no, 3%. So, gorgeous afternoon. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of painting, and I'll be back again soon. Thank you for watching.